Good morning and welcome everyone to the 2021 Data Conference being coordinated by ASU University Technology Office. My name is Bonnie LeBlanc. I am your Zoom host today. I'll be watching the chat throughout the session and have this recording up and available after the sessions are over. I'm a longtime UTO employee, and I am excited to be here with Kristin Kennedy this morning. She'll be teaching us Power Query. I just want to remind you all to stay connected and continue the conversation in our Slack channel, which is ASU-data-community. And we'll go ahead and get started, Kristin.
Thank you, Bonnie. So yes, I'm Kristin Kennedy. I work on the data success team in UTO. We are here to help you be successful with data, and part of that is through Power Query. So today is going to be a hands-on lab. So the expectation is you guys will be actually doing this. If you do have a Macintosh, unfortunately, right now, Power Query does not work. You're welcome to kind of follow along and take this back. You can sign up for an Amazon BI desktop, and at which point you could use that there. But for today, unfortunately, it won't work on a Macintosh. So I'll be showing some kind of quick demos, and then we'll go into the labs. This class normally was written to be 2 hours, so we may be cutting it close today. So I've rearranged the labs a little bit so that if we don't get to the last lab, that's okay, but you can certainly go back and do it at your desk later. And I'm always happy to help if you get stuck or anything. So with that, first of all, don't forget to go out and celebrate your colleagues on this last day of our data conference. I feel like a lot of us in UTO have been out there. I want to hear from everyone else, because we know you guys are doing great things out there. And so this is your chance to really celebrate people who have really helped with data. And as Bonnie mentioned, we have our Slack channel and the data conference website. So today's session is geared towards a data apprentice. So for us, those are people who, as if you were a cook, you have those data ingredients already ready, chopped and measured, and you just have to throw it together and make a meal. That's kind of the plan with Power Query, that data sets are already created, and you can then use those to make these magnificent meals, as we might say, or reports. So I have some terminology. This is all written up in the lab. So I don't necessarily want to go through everything in here, except a couple of things to highlight. Power Query is what we're going over today, which is an add-on to Excel. The first Lab A is kind of to help you make sure you have it installed. It does come by default in the 2019 version. The demos are written with 2019, but there are also screenshots for 2016 as well. They're just a little bit different. And then FSX is a folder space, which is where we're going to go and find our data today. Some other things we'll just kind of learn as we go, because again, we do want to get to the labs. It's all written there. So why Power Query? It's part of Excel. It's easy to use, hopefully, for most of us. You don't need a BI desktop to do the things that we're going to show you. So it's something you can do right from your own desktop. It's highly customizable. We hear all the time that a dashboard or a report is perfect if it just had one more field, or if I could just get rid of this field or filter how I want. And so that's the hope for this, that you can really create exactly what you want, which gives us that great deal of flexibility. It's also easily shareable. If you create something, you can share it with other people. A couple of things is you are dependent, just like if you were a chef who makes a meal someone else chops and gets ready for you, you are dependent on those subject matter experts to create those data sets, but there are ways to sort of make your own as well. And it doesn't work with Apple products. So let's get started. So the pre-lab is just to validate that you have it in Excel 2019. You would see a button. If you click on the data tab, you'll see get data. And then you know that it's installed. And on 2016, I believe it says new query. You know, Microsoft, I feel like they just like to change things up just to mess with us. So in order to connect, you do need a VPN. If you don't already have one, if you go to sslvpn.asu.edu, you can install it there. So Power Query is an add-on to Excel. And what happens is when you go into Excel, you don't see it. And it's one of the most powerful tools that no one knows about, but it is there. So when you go to get data and you connect to a data source, so we're going to be doing text CSV, it's actually you're gonna choose a file, and we've got files prepared for you to use. And then it's gonna open a new window. And in that new window is where we're really gonna get to do lots of transformations of the data to make it exactly how we want. So we'll click on this transform data, or edit data, as sometimes it says. So with that, the first lab is just to sort of open it up, make sure you can do everything. So again, if you haven't already, I'll post that link one more time to get to, you want this PDF. These slides I'm going through today are also there if you want to get that, but the heart of the content, I know sometimes when I do the demos, it'll seem like I'm going fast. The idea is just to sort of absorb what we're going to try to do. And then the labs have very detailed step-by-step instructions. Bonnie, if possible, maybe you could set up a couple breakout rooms just to have ready. If somebody does get stuck on something, I have Bob here who's going to help me, and he's happy to take anyone out to a breakout room, or I'm happy to answer questions too right in the session as well. So with that, just we'll do a quick 5 minutes to kind of get in. If it takes a little longer, that's okay. And let me know if anyone has trouble. You know, the best laid plans and everything always works for me when I design it, but we want to hear from you if you have any problems. So starting on page 5. Okay, let's get started on the next lab. I know some of you are still kind of catching up, and that's okay. We'll, if you need help, we'll send you to a breakout room. So just quickly, I'm going to go over some basic features that we're going to learn about. You know, a lot of times we have hundreds and hundreds of columns of, you know, just columns of data. And you, for your department, you only might want 5. You don't want 100. If you've ever looked at the admissions master list, there's like 300 columns. And who could possibly need all of those? So there's a feature in Power Query, choose columns, where you can go in and just choose the fields you want. So we will go in and get rid of some columns to make it a little bit more manageable. We can also change the name of our query so that we kind of know a little bit about what we've done with our query. So we're going to do that. And then sometimes we get fields that things are combined. Oftentimes people who build data, they build it for quick and easy access, but it's not always clean or nice looking. So we're going to do the split column, which teaches us how to kind of break those up really easily into 2 columns. We're also going to, we're going to do that with these slashes. It's a pretty easy feature, and you'll see like you're going to get a basic 1 and a basic 2, which will make life easy. We're also going to replace values so that we can kind of, it might be labeled one thing and we want to change it. So we're going to do that. We're also just going to look at how you can make your first row as your headers, although that will already be done, and how we can even change the data type. If we get a field that's a text field and we want to change it to number, we can do that pretty easily. And we are going to learn how to filter. One of the nice parts in Power Query, if you filter your data in Power Query and then load it to Excel, then each day you just refresh and it'll keep those filters always for you. You can also filter in Excel, but if you do that, then you have to apply that filter every time you refresh. Whereas in Power Query, once you filter it once, it'll stay that way forever. So that's a nice way to do that. And you just have to say load more, because sometimes that list can be incomplete. Also, there's other ways to filter your data, not just by clicking on the list, but you can do different things like it begins with or ends with to find certain values. We'll also look at sorting so that our values are the way we want. And then formatting, where we can capitalize each word, or we can do lowercase or uppercase, trim if we get spaces and things like that. We're also going to build a custom column. Sometimes we have two fields and it'd be nice if we could combine those together. So we're going to do that. And those are the things we're going to do. So we have 15 minutes. And that's just to keep things rolling along, but please go at your own pace. If you're still finishing up lab 1, that's okay. If you do want to go ahead, that's okay too. I'm here to help. But again, this is a resource for you to take back. And at any time, if someone gets stuck going forward, I'm happy to help through Slack. So let's say it's 9:26. So we will say 9:40, 9:41. And again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to show kind of the next things, but again, keep at your own pace. So we've learned now how to open a query and manipulate the data a little bit in a good way. What you might do is, let's say you have a list of students that you got from somewhere and you want to know if they're currently enrolled. You could then join that to the student's class data set. And so what I'm going to show you in this next lab is how to actually merge two queries together and to do some stuff to make it look nice. So hopefully you loaded that query in as a connection only. That's always nice and fast. And that's key to doing merges. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to merge that. We're going to get another one. So we're going to open this institution grads, which is also in the chat if it's not working. And we're going to load that file. And we're also only going to create a connection for that one. And then we're going to merge these two together. And when we do that, when we go to get data or new query, we have an option to combine queries and we can merge. You could also append. So if you had two files that were the same fields, you could kind of, append them together. We also have an HR expenditure file by fiscal year. So if you wanted 2 fiscal years, you could append them together. So we're going to merge. And when you merge, you pick the 2 queries you want to merge together. You click on the field that tells them they're connected. And so you need that field that you can join together. And then you have a choice of left join kind, and it kind of explains to you what each one is. You can wait while it estimates, or you can just click OK. And then you're going to see some buttons to kind of expand out and get those fields. There's a checkbox you want to make sure you take off so that you don't get the name of your query in front of every field, and that should be in there. And then we're going to do some fun things. We're going to do a pivot table and some slicers, just to kind of, those are more of Excel features rather than Power Query, but just so you can kind of learn a little bit about that. So we'll give a little extra time. We'll go to 10 o'clock on this one. And again, feel free to ask questions. Bob's still out in the room if you want any extra attention. And chances are, Bob just came back. Hi, Bob. But Bob can go back into a room if somebody needs extra help.
Okay, sure. Anybody want to go right now?
No, we're just starting, so it's
okay.
But also, if you have a question, probably other people do too. So feel free to go off the mic and ask.
Hi, Kristin. When I go to merge the 2 files, I get a pop-up that says privacy levels. Am I supposed to do anything with that?
Yeah, and I don't always get that, so I forget to put that in. Pick the one. There should be a drop down. If you pick the one that says organization, I believe it's called.
Okay.
And just say okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Kristin, there's a question in the chat room about Power Query. Who do we need to contact? Our team, actually.
Yeah. So Zachary, there's a Slack channel, ask-analytics. You could go there. The nice part about that, so we're always happy to help with the tool itself. The data we usually reference the subject matter experts, but also, if you go to analytics announcements Slack channel, what we do a lot of times, we may do a session on a specific new data set that someone's making available. And so then we'll do a session where you can learn how to use that specific data set. And then, and so those are going on all the time and we record those. So we may have some others too, if you're interested. And then you can also email us at analytics@asu.edu. Also, Zach and others, if you go to analytics.asu.edu/dash, this will tell you a little bit about the different data sets that we have out there. And it'll kind of tell you information about the data set, who created it, give you some links. In some cases, people have already built an Excel file for you to download. So like HR, I know they have. And then you kind of have that Power Query already built in that you can then play around with. So there's not as many options as we want yet, but we've made great strides. So also, if you're interested, last year's data conference, I actually did a session on DIY data applications, it was called. And we did show in there, and I could make available if anyone's interested, but you can also connect Power Query to a Google Sheet, which you might think, well, it's already in a sheet. Why do I need to connect it to Excel? But it could then join with a data set that you might have. So if you have a Google Sheet people are using, you could join it then with, an employee list or with HR to kind of have more information. So that's another option. Well, what I'm going to do is that training catalog link, I'm going to go make sure to put over the next couple days, I'll make sure to get last year's data conference links in there as well. So you can pick it by last year's dates. And then it'll be out there. But Christy, if you don't see it or you need it sooner, just let me know.
Hey, Kristin, this is Ramon.
Hi.
Question for you. When I click on cohort and it says to the bottom, click on load more, then choose only 4Y Bach. I don't get that 4Y Bach and others.
You don't see anything in that field?
No, it looks like it's moving the. Oh, there it is. It finished. It was loading. Okay.
Yeah, it takes a while.
I had to wait.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Never mind.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So if you want to pause for just a moment, you can continue on right where you are, just so we have some time to kind of show. So there's a couple of things to take Power Query to that next level. One of the things you can do is group by. So if you wanted to sort of get a list and count some things, the group by is a great feature to give you that ability. And you can take, you can have one query or one data set that could put to multiple sheets. So you can look at the data in different ways. So that's a cool feature. You can also use parameters as a way to more quickly sort of change the value. Maybe you want a term parameter. It doesn't prompt you, which would be nice if it did that, but you can kind of have it in a little parameter field so you could then change it easily if you wanted. So we'll go over that and then how to filter your rows based on that parameter. And you'll get this list of parameter, and that's where you can quickly change that value without having to go into the Power Query like you did. We're also going to teach you how to autofill. So we'll use a Marvel file that I did put in the chat. It's just a little file just to kind of show sometimes you have a data set that you only want that header once, but when you go to use it in certain ways, you need it in every row. So it'll teach you how to do that real quick. It's just a fill down. And then it fills it all in for you really easily. So we're going to do that one for 15 minutes and then we'll kind of wrap things up after that. Their last lab, if we have time, but you can do later, is pretty cool. It'll teach you how to do a power map. that you can kind of build. So if you needed to show off students in certain areas or something, it would build a cool map for you to use. But so 15 minutes starting in lab 39. So we'll come back at about 10:15 or so to kind of wrap things up. Okay, so if you want to pause for just a second, we have about 10 minutes left, and so you can keep going, but I'll just kind of show you quickly the last couple of things and a couple of little things to wrap it up, and then you can continue on. As I can stay as long as people need, or if you want to take a bio break, however you'd like to go from there. So the last section is kind of a fun and function part. We're going to show you how to do 3D maps. That's kind of a cool feature if you ever wanted to put that in a presentation or something. We'll also show you how to do some spark lines and conditional formatting, so that if certain values are over a certain amount, they show green or things like that. And so then that lab's about 15 minutes. I also just wanted to let you know that you can go claim after this session, you can do the data tools badge. This one is part of that. If you go to the main website and click on claim your badges, you will see a form there to fill out. And then also, if you feel that you want just someone to help you kind of figure out what you're doing and you just need maybe a guiding, if you go out to analytics.asu under support, we have request consultation. So if you want kind of an hour with someone to just sit down with you and say, should I use Power Query or the other tools? Like, we'd be happy to spend that time to help you with your specific use case. So, and again, the Slack channel is Ask Analytics. Where's that data is a great Slack channel also that would tell you, and it's just where's that data with no spaces. So if you're wondering if there's a Power Query file, you can ask there. So yeah, so like I said, I'm happy to stay, keep going. If you want to kind of go take a bio break, I will take no offense. And I'm happy to, like I said, if you get stuck, if you're trying it on your own, Slack me anytime. I'm happy to help you get past that. So we'll finish off in the next 10 minutes or so. And thank you all for coming. And I hope that you got something out of this. And I'll just show here. So I have kind of a BI community section here. We've got various channels, analytics _ announcements, ask _ analytics, various tools, Tableau, and where's that data? And you can kind of ask. And it's a great community out there, lots of people. You can see that where's that data? There's 408 people out there. So, and don't forget, of course, the ASU data community, which we used for this conference, but it's out there all the time. And that's an even bigger. We've got over 1,000 people in that channel. So
looks like our participants are starting to dwindle here. Maybe a few folks left. If there's any questions before we close out this session.
thank you, Bonnie, for hosting. And thank you, Bob, for breakout rooms.
You're very welcome.
Again, you're welcome. And thank you for having me helping out. I'm glad to do so.
So thank you for the great resources, Kristin. I really appreciate that.
No problem. I find Power Query, like I said, it's so crazy that it's out there and nobody even knows. And there's been so many times it just makes life easier.
Yeah, you know, funny, I've used Excel for years, obviously, but I've done some of those same functions just with probably brute force.
Right. Well, and that's
find, replace, and reformatting, and then copy and pasting, and right with various formulas and stuff. So yeah, this can save a lot of those steps.
right. Yeah, and then you just refresh each time. So if there's new data, it just redoes it all.
Yeah, that's the magic. I love it.
Yes. Awesome.